Ian Parker, we are back. It's another episode of Combat Coach, the best MMA gambling show on the market. And we can do you in under 10 minutes. Ian, great card last weekend. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Ready to rock. We got Bellator tonight, a little Invicta FC, and then tomorrow where we go to work with the UFC. I'm ready to rock, my man. Let's do it.
Well, we know everybody at the Early Edge keeps you busy. For Ian's content, make sure you go over and subscribe to Sportsline. Early Edge, that's where you can catch Ian's picks for all those other secular promotions. But today, we're going to focus on the UFC. The event goes down tomorrow at the UFC Apex Center, UFC Vegas 27, Font versus Garbrandt. That's in Las Vegas, Nevada on Saturday, May 22nd. First off on the card at lightweight, Rafael Alves plus 400 versus Damir Ismagulov minus 550. Heavy favorite there. Ian, where do you see this fight playing out?
Ismagulov will do whatever he wants, however he wants. In his last fight against Thiago Moises, which was a much higher level opponent than who he's fighting now, he dominated then. I believe he's going to dominate now. Obviously, that line's a little high, so I would throw him in a parlay, try to get some value out of that guy. But he's someone to really watch out for. Well,
and I was surprised he was this early on the card. I mean, he's a former champion in another organization. He's a young fighter. I thought that he would get a little more pub, but with a dominant victory, maybe he will get that. Next, staying in the lightweight division, Damir Hadzovic, minus 135 versus Yancy Medeiros, fan favorite, plus 105, coming in as the underdog. Ian, where do you see this fight playing out?
You know what? This is an interesting one. I think for this fight, it really depends on what Yancy Medeiros we see. If he could stay on his feet, if he could not take so much damage early on. And, this guy, surprisingly, people don't realize has really good jiu-jitsu. He's a tough Hawaiian kid. I kind of like him as the underdog here. I think he's fighting for his job. And I don't think his opponent I don't really know why he's the favorite. It could just be based on Yancy's inactivity. But otherwise, I think taking a shot at Medeiros here, if you feel like playing this, is the way to go.
Underdog money there from the Duck. You know what to do. Take it straight to the pay window, fellas. Coming in next at featherweight, Josh Kulabayo, minus 260 versus Yilan Shah, plus 200. I believe I said that name right, but we shall see. Ian, the floor is yours.
Might be Kulabau, but I'll defer to you on the pronunciation here because I'm usually not that good at that either, to be honest. You're better than me. I like Kulabayo or Kulabau, however we're going to go. I like Josh. I think what we saw in his last fight against Jourdain was very impressive. We weren't expecting that based on his first short notice fight against Jalen Turner, where he got absolutely brutalized. And his fight against Jourdain, he took the fight to Jourdain, fought to a draw. And that was because Jourdain had to come back. And Jourdain was the minus 500 favorite in that fight. So I like Josh in this one. You give him a full camp against a lesser opponent. I think he gets it done.
Well, and moving down a couple of pounds here to flyweight, Bruno Gustavo da Silva minus 355 versus Victor Rodriguez plus 280. Some wide odds there, Ian, but where do you see this fight going?
It's a tough one. Rodriguez, you don't really know what we're getting out of him after that, loss to Adrian Yanez. And then in this fight, Silva's taking this on short notice, although in his last fight, we finally saw what we've been expecting out of him with his striking, his ground game. This is a tough one to take at minus 350. If you want to rope him into a parlay, I totally understand it. I just don't know which Silva we're going to get on short notice. I don't know how long he's been training because Rodriguez really is not a slouch. Fighting Yanez is, was a tough task for his first fight in the UFC or even second fight in the UFC rather. So I would probably, if you're going to do this, you'd have to go Silva with the parlay there. I don't love that fight.
Well, and as you guys see, Ian is working through the odds here. He's trying to give value and he's trying to provide his opinion based on the numbers that he's given. He's not just out here saying so-and-so is going to win by so-and-so. Right. And the reason I said that coming into this next fight is because pre-show we had a little bit of a discussion about this fight. At welterweight, Court McGee minus 115 versus Claudio Silva plus 115. Ian, do you think those odds are correct and where are you playing that number?
It's kind of hard to say here. I would think Claudio Silva would have been a minus 145 only because he had some really good moments against James Krause in his last fight, and Court McGee got dominated by a Carlos Condit who didn't win in God knows how long, and he looked terrible. The Court McGee we expect is a guy that comes forward, uses his boxing to wrestle, clinch, cardio machine. In that fight against Condit, we just didn't see it. We saw a very hesitant Court. We saw a Court McGee who just didn't really know who he was in that cage. And in this fight, if he stays hesitant, Claudio Silva could knock him out. I mean, the dude comes forward, he throws a lot of heat. This is more along the lines of Silva gasses out or not, right? So I'm going to go Claudio here because of the odds and the value. I can't put my faith in Court McGee with 4 losses in a row, so I'm going to go Claudio Silva here.
Well, and you heard it, guys. It's about 30 to 40 cents of value you're getting there, depending on where the number lines up. So something you might want to jump on before tomorrow. At heavyweight, both these guys are going to be jumping once they get into the ring, and I don't think it's going to last long, but who knows? With Big Ben Rothwell, the king of Kenosha, minus 350, who has about 4 canceled fights, I believe, in 2021. So I will really, knock on wood, be excited to see him get in there versus Chris Barnett plus 275, making his promotional debut or re-debut. I'd have to go look. Ian, how do you see this fight playing out?
Yeah, for me, this is Rothwell all day. Throw him in a parlay. You got a guy who's fought everybody in the sport, who still has looked good. I mean, even his loss to Martin Tybura, Tybura has been on a roll. This is, he's fighting someone who's not even ranked in the top 15 at heavyweight. That should tell you something here. This is Rothwell in a parlay all day. As long as he does not throw too much output in the first round to gas himself out like he did a couple of fights ago, I think they're kind of doing him a favor here, and he should get the win.
Well, and he had a very impressive return off of, I think it was about a 2-year layoff, and, it was kind of out of his hands. But heavyweights age slower. It's just the name of the game. And, our heavyweight champion is, I believe, 35 is Francis. I don't know. He looks like he's 24 years old and he probably lifts like he's 18. So moving along swiftly, at the end of the preliminary card here on ESPN Plus, we got 2 bantamweights coming in. Ricardo Ramos minus 110 versus Bill Algeo minus 120. Ian, I am so excited for this fight, and I think it's a great one to kick off the end of the preliminary card. But if I'm going to take my bets to the pay window, where should I lay them?
I'm pretty high on Bill Algeo as a prospect in this division. Ricardo Ramos, my issue with him is that, again, as someone who doesn't know their identity in the cage, I just feel like if he didn't hit that spinning elbow and when that fight a couple fights ago, he was losing that fight. As you see, you put pressure on the guy against the cage, he's forced to throw these Hail Mary type of combinations, and Algeo is going to be in his face. He doesn't slow down. He's going to have the better cardio. He's very comfortable wherever the fight goes. If he does get put on his back, the only thing with Algeo I don't like is sometimes he gets a little too comfortable, but then I think once it kind of clicks, he gets back up. I just think in that last fight with Algeo, we saw someone who belongs, someone who I could see getting into the top 10 at some point, mid to early next year. I just think he's got that talent. So I like Bill Algeo here.
Well, and as you said, mistakes can kind of be overlooked when you have a high level of talent. It's something that Dean Thomas spoke about, where Tony Ferguson was able to get away with a lot of mistakes because of his talent and things like that. So at the lower levels here, I think you see a lot of mistakes being able to be made. And so I do think Bill Algeo is the move there. As the pronunciation goes, I don't have the file, but Ricardo Ramos, it's such a tough one in MMA, and you know how it is with this sport.
Yeah, listen, if they're of Brazilian descent, I just assume the R's are H's, and I try to play it safe.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think I got that incorrectly. Now, kicking off on the main card, another fight that was scheduled to go down at a previous time. Middleweights, Jack Hermansson minus 150 versus Edmund Shabazian plus 120. Ian, at this point, I think you've given out like 4 picks for this fight as it's been moved, but let's do it one last time. Ian, where does this fight play out?
Based on each fighter's last fight, Edmund Shabazian's been a while. We saw him exposed. All right. This was something we were waiting for. We kept saying, how would he lose to Derek Brunson, if he was not able to get past adversity, and he wasn't able to do it. Right. We talk about guys on the rise being rushed with these prospects too soon. Look, he did beat a guy in Brad Tavares who's very tough, but that's because he landed that right hand. No one's questioning Shabazian's striking. What I'm questioning is his takedown defense, is his cardio, is being able to take the shots, come back in fights. That was a 5-round fight, and it was kind of like he was defeated right away and had no answer. Jack Hermansson, in my opinion, is a better grappler than Derek Brunson. I also think he, as much as his striking is a little quirky and wonky, he throws in combinations and he keeps coming forward. I also think he's a higher IQ fighter in Jack Hermansson. He knows where he needs to get this fight to the ground. I like Hermansson here. In this fight against Vittori, although he lost, you talk about a guy who took shots, kept coming forward. When he got the opportunity to go to the ground, he tried to make it work. If not, he fought against the cage. I mean, this is just a very tough guy who's done a great job at a high level. I like Hermansson.
And unfortunately, it's very difficult to put this into words. But if heart was a star bar or a attribute that you could put on, I mean, Jack against Edmund, especially based on, as you said, Edmund's last performance, I think it's kind of an easy play there. And I'm very excited to see what Jack does in his return. Next at flyweight, we're going to drop down a couple of pounds here. David Dvorak minus 140 versus Raulian Paiva plus 110. I definitely nailed that. Ian, nail this pick for all our listeners.
I like Dvorak here. I like what I've seen so far of him. I like his striking. I like where he goes with the grappling. I think this is a guy that knows at certain points of the fight, he's very good at not reacting to getting hit. Meaning like if he gets tagged, he doesn't just fire away and try to brawl. Like against a guy, Paiva, is that how we pronounce his name? It's hard to really see what you're getting out of this guy. He's fought well also. I just think Dvorak would be the more physically gifted athlete in this fight, and I think that's what gets him the win.
Moving swiftly along the women's featherweight, Felicia Spencer minus 185 versus Norma Dumont Viana plus 155. A lot of places have her as Norma Dumont, but I believe she just recently got married. So put some respect. Norma Dumont Viana. Felicia Spencer, I read a stat that I sent over to Ian that she has had more cage time against Cyborg and Amanda Nunes than Ronda Rousey's entire career in the octagon. But Ian, we see the experienced featherweight come out here. How do you see this fight playing out for her versus Dumont Viana?
Listen, Dumont's not a bad fighter. Felicia Spencer has literally fought the best of the best of the best. I think she's got the better ground game, cardio, aggression. I like Felicia Spencer here.
Quick and easy. That's how we roll here on Combat Coach. Coming up next at heavyweight, Justin Tafa minus 185 versus Jared Vanderaa plus 155. I will be shocked if this goes to 15 minutes, but I'm not the expert. Ian, the floor is yours.
Listen, Tafa in that last fight did go the distance, and they brawled and he ended up losing. People thought he won. Look, with the Mountain Vanderaa, here's the thing. This guy's also an experienced heavyweight. He does have a ground game here, right? It just depends. Is he going to get caught up in the brawl situation or is he going to take this fight to the ground? I think that he's smart enough to, if he's watched any tape on Tafa, that Tafa does not fight off his back because I don't think he knows how. I don't think that he's ever had to in training and sparring. And if he gets into a slugfest, with heavyweight, anyone could go to sleep. I'm going to take the underdog here. Not that I love this play. I'm just saying if you're going to bet this one straight up at heavyweight, I think there's value here. Those might not know Vanderaa really well. Go look at his stats. Go watch his video. He's a good striker, but he has got a ground game. He's got submission wins. I'm hoping he's smart enough to take this fight to the ground. And even if he grinds it out, you got a guy in Tafa who's not a jiu-jitsu guy. So I'm going to say go with the underdog here. I think he might get the surprise win.
And this is one of those fights that probably is a lot closer than those odds say. As an experienced fan myself, this is a fight that you would expect to be on like a third to fourth card of the fight of the night. Very close, trying to figure out where these guys lie in the division, but you're getting it third from the top here on this UFC Vegas 27 card this weekend going down. And as we move into the co-main event, make sure you guys understand, if you subscribe to the Combat Coach /Coach Picks newsletter, you're getting all this content for free. If you follow Ian Parker MMA on social media, you're getting all this stuff for free. If you have questions, make sure you reach out to Ian. He's more than gracious with his time, but make sure you're watching all of his content. Don't come to him with redundancies. Coming up next, women's strawweight, Yan Xiaonan minus 130 versus Carla Esparza plus 100. Ian, I think this is kind of a not do or die fight for Carla Esparza, but I think when it comes to championship contention, this is do or die for her. Yan Xiaonan is widely considered as one of the top contenders in the strawweight division for Rose Namajunas. Ian, do you think that this fight plays out as a minus 130 clip for Xiaonan, or do you see Esparza with value at plus 100?
I like Yan Xiaonan here. I just think that with Carla Esparza, we know who she is. She's a wrestler first. A wrestler second and a wrestler third, right? Her striking has gotten better. The problem is she doesn't have a long reach. She's a short, stockier fighter. So she has to bull rush her way in with the striking, hoping to land something. Does not have knockout power, but land something just to cause the hands to go up so she could shoot in for a double or a single, bring the fight to the floor. Yan Xiaonan will be the rangier fighter. She's got a great jab, uses her striking to keep her opponents at a distance, as we saw against Claudia Gadeja. And I just think that Xiaonan will be physically stronger, can use the clinch to her advantage, which Esparza will not be used to. And I just think that it's her time to get to the top, and I think she'll be the next person to fight Rose when she gets past Carla. So I do like Yan Xiaonan here.
Love that. And a glowing review from the Duck Ian Parker there for Yan Xiaonan. Now, as we move into the main event, I am not going to bring out the whole Boston accent for New England's own Rob Font. Okay, maybe I lied.
Well, you did anyway. Yeah. Okay.
18 and 4.
I'm going to do it. Right.
It's a New England thing. I got my Duncan here. I'm just trying to get by, kid. Rob Font, 18 and 4, bantamweight in the UFC, number 4 ranked worldwide against Cody Garbrandt, 12 and 3, number 6 ranked worldwide. That according to Tapology. Ian, I think this is an absolute banger of a fight. We know personally, Aljamain Sterling is the leader of this division. His next fight is yet to be booked. We don't know where that's going to be. So with a glowing performance out here, maybe Font and Garbrandt can stake their claim as being one of the next contenders. We know there's tons of bantamweight fights coming up this summer. And this fight is very interesting to me because it's coming down at a minus 115 clip either way. That's a pick 'em. Ian, give me your pick for this fight.
You know what? The thing with Cody Garbrandt here is, how do I say this? He speaks very confidently, and that's good as a fighter. You have to, right? He's got a great coach in Mark Henry now. The problem is that he said the same thing against Rafael Assunção, and he fought the exact same way he fights, always, right? Boxing first, wants for the knockout, Cody Garbrandt, Cody Garbrandt's the type of fighter right now that if you watch his fight against Assunção, he was looking great with his boxing. However, Assunção was starting to come back in that second round. That knockout at the bell, yes, was it devastating? Was it brutal? Of course. But if you go back and watch it, he threw that from his hip, meaning he kept that so low. And Assunção's not known for his striking. Against a guy in Rob Font who throws punches and bunches, combinations, very smart, very efficient with his striking. His precision is there. He's gotten so good at his takedown defense that he forced people to box. And I think he's probably one of the better boxers in the division. Cody may have a speed advantage, possibly. But the problem with Cody, he's so reactive in the worst way possible. If you punch Cody in the face and you rock him, he tries to throw right away. He doesn't try to reset, and that's his biggest downfall. I don't see how he's improved that whatsoever, because in the fight against Assunção with that little knockout at the end with the bell, Assunção was throwing, and it was just pretty much, in my opinion, whoever was going to land first and harder, and that was it. Assunção was just out of range. So I just think that Font has done all the necessary work with his career. I think his evolution is better than Cody's. Cody's been on a decline. Fought on the incline. I don't know what Cody really did in that last fight to improve or different than what I've seen. I think Cody has all the talent in the world to be a champion, a dominant one, but I just think in this fight, this is going to be Rob Font's time to shine. I like Rob Font.
Well, in a technical analysis there from Ian Parker, that's what you get when you come to Combat Coach, and that's all you're going to get. I'm not giving you a recap. We gave it to you all in 15 minutes or less. You can go through and get all your picks here, but as I said, subscribe to the newsletter online at Coach Picks and follow Ian Parker MMA on Twitter to get all this information. But that's it for us. We got to go catch an Uber because we're taking tickets where, Ian?
Pay window.
Straight to the pay window. That's it. Combat Coach Cody Merrow, Ian Parker. Let's go.